Hey, babe, can I interrupt you just for a second? I think you're on mute. Does anyone else having audio issues? Yeah, I'm gonna come in and just check
Yeah,
your phone,
I
okay?
can, yeah, I can hear you, but I can't hear.
Second. How's that?
When I muted everybody, I muted myself. Smart. Smart. Behind the curtain.
Yep, you're coming in loud and clear, loud and clear.
Good. Oh, good. So I'll do that spiel again. Thank you for your patience, guys. So I am about to finish my 200-hour yoga teacher training that I started in, September, October. So I'm really excited, and part of the final exam is to teach an hour-long class and mine will be on Saturday morning, to the owner of the program and my mentor, and so it's like a movement final exam. So tonight I'm going to be practicing teaching that class. So I really thank you guys for being here and giving me the opportunity to practice, so it's not just me trying to teach Margot. So a little bit about what we're going to be doing tonight. We'll be starting off with some warm-up. We'll move into some, instead of sun salutations, we're going to do moon salutations. And then we're going to move into a couple different sequences. We're going to work on something called a peak pose, and I'll show you when we get there what that's going to be. Then we're going to have a warm down. We're going to have a shavasana. The rest period is actually going to be a guided meditation. And then we'll close. We'll come back together to close. So it should be just about an hour. I hope not to keep you any longer than that, because I don't want to take too much time out of your day. But I appreciate you being here. So to start, be in your comfortable position, either on your bottom, like I said, on your knees, wherever is comfortable for you to be to start out in. And if it's comfortable for you, you can close your eyes. If that doesn't feel comfortable for you, you can just lower your gaze, soften your focus. Starting to connect with your breath. Bringing both hands out in front of you, rubbing them together as fast as you can. We're going to get the blood going, get the energy flowing, creating some heat. You're going to take one warm hand and put it on your heart, and the other one you're just going to put on your belly. And with your eyes closed, if you're comfortable, just connecting with your breath and your body. Feeling the rise and fall of your belly and your chest as you breathe in and out. To put us into a mindful space, we're just going to listen to the singing bowl a couple times. And the exercise is simple. Just listen until you can't hear it anymore. You can gently flutter your eyes open. We're just going to do a few quick neck and shoulder stretches. I know that's where a lot of us hold most of our attention. So if we try to work through some of that now, a lot of what we're going to be doing later on will be a little bit easier for us. So we're just going to take our right hand to the left side of our head and gently pull it down towards the right shoulder. Allowing that stretch in the left side of the neck. Gently release back to center. Then taking the left hand to the right side of the head. Same thing, pulling down towards the left shoulder. Feeling that stretch up through the right side of the neck. You may find that one side is a bit tighter than the other. Just depends on how you're using your neck during the day. Gently release. Interlacing our fingers and putting our hands behind our head, we're going to gently lower our chin to the chest, just allowing the weight of our hands to bring the head forward, stretching the back of the neck. Allow your shoulders to really fall away from your ears as you're stretching here. And you can even feel this stretch down into the upper and mid part of your back. If you're looking at a screen all day, this is one of my favorite stretches to do. Gently release. And now tipping your head up towards the ceiling, we're just going to stretch out the front of our neck. When we're here, you can make chewing motions with your jaw. Get a little bit more stretch in there. You can circle your jaw around to get some more stretch in the sides. Bring your head back to center. We're going to do some shoulder rolls. Up and back and down, back to the front. Rolling your shoulders, doesn't have to be too fast or too slow, whatever pace is good for you, but making sure you're feeling all of that stretching happening. If you need to, I love to bring my arms out nice and wide, gives me a little bit more motion, bigger range of motion. Feeling all those crackles and crunches as you're rolling your shoulders, and then we're going to go in the other direction, so going forward. Feeling the stretch through the shoulders, but also through the upper back. Coming back to center. On your next inhale, we're going to bring our shoulders all the way up towards our ears, scrunching them up as high as they'll go. And then on your next exhale, you're just going to release. Just let them fall. Again, scrunching your shoulders up, up, up next to your ears. So you inhale and then exhale, release. One more time, inhaling, shoulders up to your ears, really scrunch it up there. And exhale, release. Whew. All of those stretches that we just did, the neck stretch, the shoulder rolls, this shoulder release, all things that you can do during the day right at your desk. People are going to maybe think you're weird if you're sighing at your exhale, but it's just a way to invite some movement into your body, especially if you're stationary at a desk all day. From here, we're going to move into a tabletop position, so onto our hands and knees. If the pressure of being on your hands and your knees is too great, you can place a blanket underneath your knees. You can place a blanket underneath your hands. You can put your hands on top of blocks. Whatever you need to either bring the floor closer to you or to relieve some of the pressure in your wrists and your knees. But from this tabletop position, you're going to have your wrists kind of stacked under your shoulders, and your knees are going to be under your hips. Your knees can be hip width distance, or they can be a little wider. I like to make mine a little bit wider. It gives me a little bit more room for my belly. We're going to move through cat and cow. So as you inhale, and you're going to drop your belly down. And when you drop your belly, you're going to lift your tail and lift your head as you inhale. This is cow. And as you exhale, you're going to push away on the floor, round your back up, and look in towards your belly button. Inhale into cow, dropping your belly, lifting your tail and your gaze. Exhale into cat, pushing away the floor, rounding up the back, looking inward. A few more times. Inhale down into cow, dropping the belly. Exhale into cat. Inhale, drop the belly. Exhale up into cat. A few more with your own breath. Move at your own pace. And when you're ready, coming back just into that straight tabletop position. It's important for me to note here that if at any point while you're practicing, you need to take a rest, please do. Please, please do. There are going to be times while I'm teaching this class that maybe I'm not going to do all of the movement with you. That's just to preserve my own body strength. So please make sure that you're also listening to your own body while we practice. So if you need to take a break, right? Like, you know your own body better than I do, so you listen to what you need. So from our tabletop position, we're going to get up into our first down dog of the evening. So from this hands and knees position, you're going to tuck your toes underneath, and you're going to push with your hands and feet, lifting your hips up and back. You want to push your hips up and back so it's going towards where the ceiling and the wall meet. And then stepping your feet forward to meet your hands at the front of your mat and standing up nice and tall. For downward facing dog, hands can be on the mat with tail lifted towards the ceiling. Hands can come to blocks. Hands can come to a chair or a table or anything if you want to take yourself a little bit more off the floor. Typically, I prefer to do downward facing dog on just a regular dining room chair. It's a bit easier for me to get into that position, but whatever works for you. So standing at the top of your mat, feet are going to be hip width distance apart. They can be a little bit wider. I like to make mine a little bit wider. I have a wider base. And you're going to ground your feet into the floor, making sure that the ball of the big toe, the ball of the pinky toe, and your heel are all equally grounded into the floor. Maybe that means you need to lean forward or lean back a little bit, bend your knees, but you want to feel equal weight on all parts of your feet. Nice and tall and strong. This pose here, this standing pose grounded into the floor, is called Tadasana or mountain pose because we're strong and steady. You'll find that a lot of yoga classes, yoga sequences will start in this mountain position, Tadasana. On your next inhale, bring your arms all the way up to the ceiling, looking up as you go. And then exhaling, you're going to hinge at the hips and come forward into a forward fold. I like to have a pair of blocks to rest my hands on because I can't get my hands all the way to the floor. Also in this position, it might be hard because of my belly. Sometimes you just gotta move your belly out of the way to get yourself a little bit more of a deeper forward fold. Sit here in this forward fold for a few minutes, allowing the back of the legs to stretch out a little bit. From this forward fold, we're going to take our right foot and we're going to step it back into a little bit of a lunge. If you have blocks, you can bring your hands to blocks. But we're also going to bring our right knee right down to the floor. So you're essentially going to be left knee bent, right knee on the floor. And as we inhale, you're going to bring your arms up over your head. Exhale, bringing them down. Shoulders bent. We call this cactus arms because you look like a cactus. Exhaling into cactus arms. Inhaling, straighten your arms up. Exhale, cactus arms. Inhale up. Exhale, cactus. One more time. Inhale up. And exhale into cactus. Great. From here, we're going to bring our left knee down to the floor to meet our right. And we're going to sit our hips back towards our heels. Knees can be wide. And at the hips, you're going to hinge forward. Forehead can come to the ground if that's accessible for you tonight. If not, you might want to put some pillows underneath you or a couple blocks. This is called child's pose. Taking a few breaths here in child's pose. From our child's pose, we're going to put both hands on the ground. And almost like you're going into your cat position, rolling your back up and settling nicely into your tabletop. From our tabletop, we're going to go into downward facing dog again. Same as before. So using blocks or a chair or whatever props you have around that you'd like to use. Tucking your toes, then lifting your hips up and back for downward facing dog. Feet absolutely do not need to be flat on the floor. Knees can be bent. Knees can be wide. Step both feet forward to meet your hands. Absolutely does not need to be graceful. Meet at the top of your mat in a forward fold. Finding that grounding feeling in your feet. Push down through the feet and lift all the way up, arms up to the ceiling. Then as you exhale, arms can come down in a prayer position to heart center. And we just said hello to the moon. We're gonna stay in this mountain pose, solid, grounded. Step your right foot back so that your foot of your right leg, the foot of your right leg is running the same way as the short end of your mat. And your front left foot is the same direction as the long side of your mat. Front left knee is bent. And if you pretend like your hip bones, I mean, I'd have to really search for my hip bones, but if you pretend that your hip bones are like headlights, you want to make sure that they are shining forward. So if you can even use your fists and rotating your hips so they're facing the long way of your mat. From here, our arms come up and kind of float down into a T position. And you're going to look over your left hand. This position, this pose here is warrior two. Strong and steady in the legs. You can feel the energy coming out of your arms, out of your fingertips. Nice, strong back. Warrior two. We're gonna work our leg muscles now, so bear with me. As you inhale, you're gonna straighten this left leg up. Arms are gonna come up next to your ears. Exhale, bending the left knee. Arms coming back down into the T position. Inhale, legs straight, arms up by the ears. Exhale, pressing the hands down, bending that front knee. Inhale, straighten the leg, arms come up. And exhale, pressing the arms down, bending that front knee. Doing a few more of this rise and fall out of the warrior two at your own pace with your own breath. And you can make this motion as fluid as you'd like to. It can almost be like a dance. Inhaling arms up and then exhaling arms down, as fluid as you want to make it. I want you to feel the freedom of making this practice your own tonight, because it's about you. I'm here to guide you, but it's about you and your body. Let's all take one last one together. Inhaling, straightening the front leg, arms come up. Exhale, pressing back down into warrior two. From here, we're going to move into a pose called exalted warrior or radiant warrior. So our hands are out in the T position. Your right hand, your right arm is going to come down to your right leg. Your left hand is going to flip up towards the ceiling, come up next to your left ear. You're going to lean towards the right. You don't need to have a huge bend, as much or as little as you want. Keeping that front knee bent. Radiant warrior. Bringing your arms back down into your warrior arm position, shaking out your legs a little bit. spent quite a lot of time using their strength. The next pose we're going to do is called triangle. So from our warrior two position, we're going to straighten our front leg. Your right hip is going to kind of pop out towards the right a little bit. Left hand is going to come down next to your left leg. I like to use a block because I cannot bring my arm all the way down to the ground. So it can be on your leg, on the floor, even on your thigh. Just make sure that this left hand is not putting any pressure on your left knee. Okay, so triangle is hand is down, right hand is up to the sky. It can come to your hip if that feels better, feels more comfortable in your body. Again, making sure that your hand is either on the floor, on a block, on your shin, on your thigh, as long as it's not on your knee. Very good. Don't want to put any undue pressure. Karen triangle. Swinging our arms back around into our warrior two position. Frontly bent. Now, you're going to take your left foot and you're going to spin it so it's facing the same direction as your right foot. So we're in a nice wide-legged stance. Both feet facing forward. You can have them a little bit turned out if that's more comfortable in your legs and your hips. And from here, hands on your hips, you're just going to hinge yourself forward for another forward fold. This time we're not using legs together. Our legs are wide apart. Giving your back and your legs just a little bit of a break. On your next inhale, rising up, arms come above the head. Exhale down, hands to heart center. Now, our right foot is going to pivot. So it's now the same direction as the long side of your mat. Left foot stays where it is. We're doing warrior two on the opposite side. Right knee is going to be bent. Arms are pressed down in that T warrior shape. Gaze is out over the right hand. Warrior two. We're going to move through the same inhale, exhale flow that we did earlier. Inhaling, straightening our right leg. Arms come up to the ceiling. Exhale, pressing back down into that warrior two. Inhale, straightening up. Exhale, pressing down. Doing a few more at your own pace. One more together, inhaling up straight. Exhaling back down into warrior two. From here, we're going to move into radiant warrior on this side. So left hand drops down to the left leg. Right hand flips up towards the ceiling, comes up next to the right ear. Radiant warrior. Pressing the arm back down into warrior two. Straightening your front right leg. Now our left hip is going to pop out to the left. We're going to swing our right arm down to be next to our right leg. To the floor, to the ankle, to the shin, to the thigh. Left arm can either come up towards the ceiling or on your hips. Triangle. Swinging the arms back into our warrior two. Pivoting our toes, so again, both are facing forward. And hinging at the hips into a forward fold. Grounding down through the feet, pushing ourselves up, arms come up to the sky. Exhale, hands come down to heart center. We're going to move back to the top of our mat. Finding that nice, strong mountain pose again. Feet are grounded. You feel like you're growing roots into the earth, but your head, the crown, is growing up towards the sky. So it's a grounding and a lifting. On our next inhale, we're going to raise our hands up next to our ears, and we're going to sit our hips back like you were going to sit in a chair. This is called chair pose. We're here in our chair pose. Not going to leave us here for long. Stepping your right foot back into a little bit of a lunge. Arms are still straight up by your ears. Left knee is bent. Right leg extended behind you. There can be a bend in your right leg. Doesn't need to be perfectly straight. Here we go into a little bit of the tricky part. You're going to shift your weight into your left foot. Arms at this point can be out in front of you. They can be out to the side, or they can be on your hips. If you're near a wall or a shelf, it might be helpful. But you're just going to lift your right leg ever so slightly off the ground. I'm using the shelf in front of me. My balance isn't that great. Balancing on your left leg, bringing your right leg up. You don't need to keep holding it there. You can touch it back down, bring it up a little bit if you want to. Your right leg does not need to be 5 feet off the ground. As high up as you can get it. Leg is extended. Arm can be to the side, to the front, on your hips, whatever helps you balance best. Bringing your right foot, bringing it back to match your left. Exhaling into a forward fold. Grounding down through the feet, rising up to stand. Exhale, hands to heart center. Let's try it again on the other side. So from our strong mountain pose, On our inhale, arms come up next to the ears, hips sit back into chair. This point, our left leg steps back into a lunge. From here, shifting your weight into your front right leg. Arms again, T out in front of you or on your hips. Lifting your left leg off the ground. As many times as you want. Finding that balance if it's there for you. Not pushing yourself. If it's not there, it's not there. That's fine. Finding that grounding in that right foot. James, that looks lovely. It might be tough on your ankle, but keep trying. You don't have to be up in this position for 5 minutes. Keep trying. That's how you get there. When you're done trying, left leg can come in to meet right, and we're gonna hinge at the hips for another forward fold. On your next inhale, grounding down to the feet, rising up to standing. Exhaling, hands to heart center. Whew, shake out the legs a little bit. We're going to work into our peak pose now, which is going to be another balance pose. So, shaking out your legs. If you aren't already positioned at a wall or near a table for your balance, you can move yourself because like I said, this is going to be another balance pose. This is also a pose that if you have a yoga strap or a scarf or a tie for your bathrobe, whatever, this would be the time to get that out. All of us in our teacher training needed to pick a peak pose that was something that we were going to work towards. Maybe it isn't a pose that we have in our repertoire, but it's something we want to work towards. And earlier on in our training, we all picked a possibility word, a word that we wanted to embody moving forward. And our peak pose needed to match our possibility word. And my possibility word was freedom. Freedom to be me, freedom to exist in my body the way it is, freedom to move my body in a yoga practice that feels good for me. That may not look like your typical, right, skinny white blonde yogis, but it's a yoga that feels good for me and my body, and to feel the freedom to be that and to show people that. So let's keep that word freedom kind of mulling around in our brain as we try this next pose. This next pose is called dancer's pose. Again, it's a balanced pose. So I'm going to start us balancing on our right foot, just so everybody's aware. So we're going to start in our strong, steady mountain pose. Really taking the time to ground your feet, especially that right foot. Making sure every piece of it is connected to the ground beneath you. Taking some deep breaths. focusing on the intention of freedom. Okay. If you have a strap or a tie or something, you're going to want to wrap it, not wrap it, but put it around your left ankle. So it's around your ankle, but you can still grab it in the back. So you can see that mine, like if I stretch it out, it's around my ankle. I'm going to show us a few different versions of this, and you pick whatever works best for you. So shifting our weight into our right foot. Left toes can come off the ground. First option is to kickstand your foot. So I'll turn so you can see what my feet look like. Just like if you're a dancer, this is a dig. Just your left toes, up on your left toes, next to your balancing right leg. Okay, one option. Option number 2, planted into that right foot, lifting the left leg just a little bit behind you. I'm gonna grab onto something so I don't fall over. Okay, I'll put it down so I don't overexert myself. Next option, so that's option number 2, just lifting the leg up a little bit. Option number 3, you're essentially going to lift your leg behind you. Then, this is hard to describe, but almost pushing your foot into the strap and lifting your leg up behind you. Ooh, and trying not to fall down and make a complete mess of yourself. Option 3. Option 4, which I do not currently have the option of, but maybe you do, maybe it's accessible for you, would be to pull your leg all the way up behind you and really up towards your head. Dancer. Woo. Try it. Try it balancing on your right side. Try it multiple times. See? Nice. See where you can hold it. See if you can hold it. Great. There's no reason why. We say this in our kids' yoga classes all the time. And I say it when I'm teaching adults. You can touch your toe down and try again. Just because you put your foot down doesn't mean that you failed. You're just going to try it again. So, try it a few more times. The different options. Balancing on the right foot with the left foot right next to it. Left foot lifted off the floor. See if I can find my strap. Left foot in the strap. Pulled up. If you're not using a strap and you have access to use your hand to grab onto your left foot, that is the intention of the pose. Let's try it one more time. Right leg sturdy into the ground, left leg comes up and back. And down. All right, shake it out. Shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. Woo! I'm gonna sleep well tonight. All right, let's try balancing on our left foot. My left foot, I have far worse balance on my left foot, so we'll see how this goes. But I'm more flexible on my right leg. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Standing in our good friend mountain pose, feet firmly grounded into the floor. Taking a few deep breaths to calm our breath from our first dancer pose experiment. Channeling in on our intention of freedom. and allowing that to flow through us. All right, let's do it to it. Shifting our weight to our left foot. Right foot can either come to its toes, can be lifted behind you. Can be pulled up a little bit further. Whatever works for you on this side. You honestly don't want to pull too hard because you don't want to like pull on the muscles of your arms and really scrunch your back. As you're in here, if you have your foot pulled back like this, think about also lifting off of your hips. That way you're not really crunching in your low back. If you're thinking, lift the crown of my head, lift off my hips, you're clearing a little bit more space in your low back. That will give you a little bit more freedom for the back bend part of the pose, and will make it so you're not really crunching down on your back. I like to take mine out a little bit wider to help with my low back. Again, trying it, whatever feels good for you, trying it. Option 1, option 2, seeing if you can hold the balance. It's about giving yourself the permission to try it. And when you're in the position, instead of focusing on, oh my God, my back is crunched and my leg hurts and it's pulling, I want you to think about that feeling of freedom. That feeling like you're almost flying. You're on one foot and your body's just lifted and flying above the ground. Freedom. Wonderful job, guys. Thanks for trying. This is a tough, especially if this is one of your first yoga classes. This is a tough pose to come right into. So I appreciate you guys being good sports about it. So once you feel complete in your testing of your dancer's pose, we're going to meet back in mountain pose at the top of our mat. Kind of like once you've gone on a trip, you've gone out exploring, it always feels nice to come home again, to ground down into the safety of home. Here in our mountain pose. We're going to inhale our arms up and take one last forward fold. If you had any crunching of the low back in that dancer pose, this might feel nice for you to take your forward fold a little bit wider and just shift your hips from side to side. Trying to opening up a little bit more space there. From here, we're going to step back into our last down dog for the evening. Hips up and back, Remember, hips going up towards where the wall and the ceiling meet. Dropping your knees down to the mat. Coming into a tabletop position. Again, in this position, if it feels good, moving your hips around, rocking forward and back, side to side. Getting any movement in that feels good right now. When you feel complete in that movement, I'm going to have you come onto your back. Lying on your back, bend your knees with your feet flat on the floor. And from here, you're just going to kind of tick-tock your knees from side to side. Almost like a pair of windshield wipers. As you're doing this, you can feel the floor is kind of giving your low back a little massage. Thanking it for all the hard work it did. Allowing the tension to melt a little bit. Side to side. The tabletop stretch we just did, this windshield wiper stretch we're doing here, and the next stretch we're going to do called waterfall, are all excellent stretches to do actually in bed at the end of the night. Helps calm the body down and get it ready for rest. So we'll stop our windshield wiper. We're going to come into a pose called waterfall. For waterfall, you can either keep your back flat on the floor, or if you have a block or a blanket or a pillow or something, and you want to put it underneath your lower back for a little bit of support, you can do that. But for waterfall, our legs are just going to come up towards the sky. I like putting something under my back because it gives me a little bit more leverage. If having your legs up with no support underneath you isn't accessible for you tonight, then you can put your legs up a wall, rest them up on your couch. If you have your back on the floor and your knees can be bent over the seat of your couch. But in this waterfall position, having our legs up allows all the blood and energy to flow back down our legs and back into the core of our body. We spent a lot of time working on our legs today, so let's give them a little bit of a rest. While you're up in this waterfall position, you can roll your ankles if that feels good. You can bend your knees, straighten your legs if that feels good. Wiggle your legs back and forth, shake them out. Whatever movement feels good for you. And when you're ready, you can lower your legs to the floor for Shavasana. Shavasana is our rest time for our practice. So, you have a blanket or pillows nearby, use them. Make yourself nice and comfy, cozy. Put something under your head. I like to have something under my knees, help support my low back while I'm lying there. Arms can be out to the side. When you've made yourself comfy and cozy and ready for Shavasana, you can close your eyes if that feels comfortable. Start to let go of your intentional breathing and just let the breath come naturally. Allow your body to just be supported by the earth below you. Release the tension, the corners of your mouth. Let your tongue drop away from the roof of your mouth. Allow the tension between your eyebrows to melt away. And imagine that you were laying in a poolside lounge chair at a tropical resort. The sun is shining. You can feel its warm rays sprinkling down all over. You have a fancy umbrella drink in your hand. You have absolutely no responsibilities, and you can just let go. The tropical heat starts to feel a little intense. So you slip into the cool water of the pool to cool off. As you walk deeper into the water, you can feel your body temperature lower, and you can feel that familiar feeling of weightlessness that being in the water gives you. You allow yourself to lie back, kick up your feet, and just float. supported by the water, moving with the water. You're able to just let go. You let out a big sigh. And allow your body to move freely in the water. Feel the movement. Feel the freedom. You look up and see that your plate of desserts was just delivered to your chair. So you end your float, grab your towel, head back to your chair to enjoy your chocolate cake. Start to deepen your breathing. Become aware of the sounds around you. Wiggling your fingers and your toes. Invite some movement back into your body. When you feel ready, rolling over to one side or the other. And slowly push yourself back up to a comfortable seated position. Keeping our eyes closed or our gaze down, we're going to bring our hands back out in front of us and rub them together as fast as we can. Place one warm hand on your heart, the other warm hand on your belly. Taking a few deep breaths, thanking your body and honoring your body for this practice. Listen to the singing bowls a few more times. It's funny how some distance makes everything seem small, and the fears that once controlled you can't get to you at all. It's time to see what I can do to test the limit and break through. No right, no wrong, no rules for me. I'm free. Thank you so much for practicing with me tonight, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank God for the Apple Store, right? Or I wouldn't have a practice session.
That was awesome.